Look around you. Look at the faces you pass every day on the streets. Look into the eyes of your colleagues, your friends, your family. Do you see it? Do you see the walking dead among us? I do, and it terrifies me more than any opponent I've ever faced. They breathe, their hearts beat, they wake up each morning, go to work, come home, sleep, and repeat. But they died long ago. Most people die at 25, my friend, but aren't buried until they're 75. You think I speak of some mystical concepts? Number, I speak of something I witness every day, something that breaks my heart as a teacher, as a philosopher, as a human being. I speak of the death that occurs when a human being stops truly living. I've seen it happen. The moment is almost visible, that instant when the light leaves their eyes. Not from physical death, no. This is the moment they accept limitations as truth. The moment they trade their dreams for what others call security. The moment they stop growing and start merely existing. This death is silent. It doesn't come with certificates or ceremonies. It creeps in through comfort, through routine, through the quiet acceptance of that's just how things are. It comes the day you stop questioning, stop growing, stop pushing against your boundaries. But here's what pains me most. This death is a choice made not in one dramatic moment, but in 1,000 small surrenders. A dream postponed here, a risk not taken, a passion labeled impractical, a goal dismissed as unrealistic. And so they die at 25. These walking dead, their bodies continue, but their spirits lie quiet in the grave of what could have been. For 50 years, they sleepwalk through life, waiting only for the body to catch up with what has already died inside. But my friend, I'm not here to simply paint this tragic picture. I'm here because I've also seen the resurrection. I've witnessed people awaken from this death, and that is what I want to share with you. Because while most people may die at 25, you don't have to be most people. Let me tell you about a student who came to my school last year, a talented young man, physically strong, technically skilled, but something was missing. When I asked him to explore a new movement, to find his own way of expressing it, he froze. Just show me the right way, he said. I'll copy it perfectly. It is mental death in action. You see, mental death isn't an event, it's a process. A slow surrender that typically culminates around age 25. Why 25? Because this is when society expects you to grow up, to be realistic, to settle down. This is when most people trade their dreams for what others call security. Watch a child learn. They don't worry about looking foolish. They fall, they laugh, they get up, they try again. In my years of teaching, I've seen 3-year-olds attempt moves that adults hesitate to try not, because the adults can't do them, but because somewhere along the way, they learned to fear failure more than they desire growth. I remember training with my son Brandon when he was small. He would ask why 1,000 times. Why do we stand this way? Why do we breathe like this? Why? Led to more questions. This is the natural state of the human mind, endless curiosity, boundless exploration. But then something happens. Society begins its work. Stop asking so many questions. That's just how it is. Be practical. Be realistic. Each of these phrases is a nail in the coffin of mental vitality. Each time we accept them, we die a little more inside. I've seen this transformation countless times. Students come in full of questions, full of desire to learn. But when I push them beyond their comfort zone, when I ask them to think for themselves, to explore their own expression, when we retreat to the safety of imitation. Just tell me what to do, they say. This is the moment of choice, the pivotal point between growth and death. But here's what I've learned through my own journey. Falling down 7 times and getting up 8 isn't just about physical resilience, it's about mental resurrection. Each time you choose to get up, to question again, to explore again, to risk again, you choose life over death. I had a student once who failed his first public demonstration, completely froze. The old way of thinking would say, you're not cut out for this. But he came back the next day. And the next 7 times he failed publicly. On the 8th attempt, something had changed not just his performance, but his entire being. He had learned that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. This is what I mean by mental death versus mental life. It's not about intelligence or education. It's about your relationship with growth itself. Are you still willing to be a beginner? Are you still willing to look foolish in pursuit of growth? Are you still willing to get up that 8th time? The first sign of mental death is perhaps the most subtle yet the most devastating. The death of curiosity. It begins so quietly you might not even notice it happening. Like a candle slowly burning out, not in a gust of wind, but in the stillness of stale air. I see it in the eyes of accomplished martial artists who come to my school. I already know this, their eyes say, even before they begin. 20 years of training, and they wear their knowledge like armor not to grow stronger, but to prevent anything new from getting in. They have answers for everything, yet they've forgotten how to question anything. Let me share something profound I've observed. The most dangerous words in any language are I know. Not because knowledge is dangerous, but because the illusion of complete knowledge is fatal to growth. When you say, I know, what you're really saying is, I've stopped looking. When you say, I understand without deep questioning, what you're really saying is, I've stopped exploring. Think about how a child approaches a butterfly. Seeing one for the first time, they're full of questions. Why does it fly like that? How does it know which flower to chew? Why do its wings have those colors? Each question opens a door to wonder. Each answer leads to 3 more questions. This is the living mind, the fertile soil where growth flourishes. But somewhere along the way, we start answering without questioning. We start nodding without wondering. We start accepting without understanding. Comes our mantra. Each time we say this, a small part of our curious mind dies. I had a student, 1C, highly educated man, who came to learn about Jeet Kune Do. When I asked him why he wanted to learn, he said, to add another style to my collection. He didn't want to learn, he wanted to acquire. He didn't want to question, he wanted to possess. This is the difference between living knowledge and dead information. The death of curiosity doesn't happen in grand moments. It happens in small surrenders. It happens when you stop asking why and what if. It happens when you choose the comfort of certainty over the adventure of discovery. It happens when you begin to fear questions more than you love answers. Remember this, the expert's mind contains many answers, but the beginner's mind contains endless possibilities. When you think you know enough to stop questioning, that's when you've stopped living and started dying. The truly alive mind never stops asking, never stops wondering, never stops seeking deeper understanding. The second sign cuts deeper than the first, the death of courage. Not the physical courage to face an opponent, but the spiritual courage to face yourself. This is the courage that dies when we choose the warmth of our comfort zone over the cold winds of growth. I faced this choice myself when I decided to teach Westerners the secrets of Kung Fu. My own community turned against me. This is not our way, they said. These are not our traditions. They offered me security if I would just conform, just follow the old ways, just stay within the familiar boundaries. Deadly to the spirit. You see, society has created a perfect cage for the human spirit. They call it security, they call it stability, they dress it up in golden bars and tell you, this is what success looks like. And slowly, day by day, your courage to step outside these bars fades away. Not because you can't break free, but because you stop believing you should. I see this in my students when I tell them to express themselves honestly in their movement. But what will others think? They ask. This is the voice of dying courage. When you start measuring your actions against the approval of others, when you begin to fear standing alone more than you fear standing still, this is when courage begins to die. The trap of security is the most cunning killer of courage. It whispers, Why risk what you have? Why challenge what's working? Why stand out when you can blend in? Each whisper is a poison, each comfort a small death. You begin to choose what is safe over what is right, what is expected over what is possible. Let me tell you about courage. True courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being terrified and moving forward anyway. It's about standing alone when the crowd moves in the opposite direction. It's about questioning Tradition 7 when tradition threatens to reject you. It's about being willing to be wrong, to look foolish, to fail spectacularly in pursuit of something authentic. The death of courage is particularly tragic because it masquerades as wisdom. Be realistic, they say. Be practical, they advise. Rock the boat, they warn. But remember this, every great leap forward in human history was made by someone who was willing to rock the boat, to stand alone, to risk the comfort of certainty for the possibility of something more. When your courage dies, a prison is born. A prison without walls, without bars, without guards, because you become your own jailer. You lock yourself in the cage of what if and throw away the key of why not. You sentence yourself to a life of quiet regret, serving a term of comfortable mediocrity. The third sign of living death is perhaps the most heartbreaking, the death of creativity. Not just artistic creativity, but the very essence of personal expression. It's the death of your unique way of moving through the world, your individual way of seeing, your authentic way of being. I remember watching a master sculptor work with clay. His hands moved with freedom, with purpose, with personal truth. Then I watched his students, each copying his exact movements, trying to replicate his art piece by piece. They didn't understand that the master's greatness wasn't in his technique, it was in his freedom to express his own truth. This is what happens in martial arts schools across the world. Students learn forms, sequences, patterns. They become perfect photocopies of their masters. But in perfecting the copy, they kill something precious, their own expression. They follow without questioning, repeat without understanding, perform without living. The death of creativity begins with the poison of limited thinking. This is how it's always been done. These are the rules, stay within the lines. Each of these thoughts is a chain binding your spirit, restricting your movement, imprisoning your expression. You become so focused on doing things right that you forget to do them truthfully. I've seen talented fighters reduce themselves to mere technicians. They know all the moves, all the counters, all the combinations, but they've lost the ability to flow, to adapt, to create in the moment. They've traded the living art of expression for the dead certainty of repetition. Your creativity dies when you start believing that there's only one right way to do things. It dies when you value perfection over authenticity. It dies when you choose imitation over expression. Like a river forced into a concrete channel, your energy might still flow, but it has lost its natural path, its ability to carve new ways, its power to shape its own course. This death is subtle because it comes disguised as mastery. You might become highly skilled at following the established path. Your techniques might be flawless, your execution perfect. But if this perfection comes at the cost of your personal truth, you've traded your living spirit for a beautiful cage. Remember, true creativity isn't about being different for the sake of being different. It's about being true for the sake of being alive. It's about allowing your unique energy to flow naturally, your personal truth to shine authentically, your individual spirit to move freely. Now, my friend, we come to the heart of transformation. The path of awakening isn't a distant mountain peak to be reached. It's a journey that begins with your next breath, your next thought, your next choice. Let me share something I discovered in my darkest moment of frustration. After my back injury, when doctors said I might never kick again, I learned that the mind and body are not separate entities. They are one flowing river of energy. Just as a stagnant pool breeds disease, a rigid mind breeds death. But like water, the mind can be trained to flow again, to find new paths, to break through any obstacle. The first step in mental revival is to understand this: your mind, like your muscles, grows stronger through resistance. Every time you push against your mental limitations, you create micro tears in your old thinking. And just like muscle tissue, these tears heal stronger, more flexible, more alive. Here's how we begin. Each morning before your body rises from bed, give your mind a workout. Question one thing you've always accepted as truth, just one thing. Maybe it's a belief about yourself, about what's possible, about what you deserve. Hold that belief up to the light, turn it around, let it catch the sun from different angles. This is mental stretching. Now, throughout your day, practice what I call conscious disruption. Take a different route to work. Use your non-dominant hand for simple tasks. Speak to someone you'd usually avoid. Each disruption is like a sparring session for your mind, teaching it to adapt, to flow, to stay alive in the moment. But here's the crucial part. You must understand the water principle. Water doesn't fight obstacles. It flows around them. It doesn't resist freezing temperatures. It adapts and becomes ice. It doesn't fear any container. It takes its shape while maintaining its essence. For mental resurrection, let me share a transformation I witnessed. A student came to me, his mind rigid with 20 years of traditional training. He knew only straight lines, fixed patterns, absolute rules. I asked him to spar with a child, not to teach, but to learn. Watch how the child moves, I told him. No predetermined patterns, no fixed positions, just pure response to the moment. At first, he resisted. His mind was like concrete set and unchangeable. But day by day, through constant practice in fluidity, his mental rigidity began to crack. The breakthrough came unexpectedly during a demonstration. When his planned technique failed, instead of freezing, he flowed like water, finding a new channel. His mind and body adapted instantly. In that moment, I saw it in his eyes, the awakening. He had transcended mere physical movement to touch something profound, the ability to be fully alive in the moment. This is what mental revival looks like. It's not about adding more knowledge. It's about removing the barriers to your natural flow. It's about unlearning rigidity, unlearning limitations, unlearning the very concept of impossible. Practice this. When faced with any obstacle, ask yourself, how would water overcome this? Water doesn't try to break through the strongest point of a dam. It finds the cracks. It seeps through gradually. It rides over the top. It flows underneath. This is mental adaptability in action. Let me share with you the tools that can resurrect a dying spirit. But understand this, these aren't just exercises. They are weapons against the death we spoke of. Like the weapons in my quoum, their power lies not in the tool itself, but in how deeply you integrate them into your being. First, we begin with the daily questioning routine. Every morning, before the world can impose its rhythm on you, you must question three things. One belief about yourself, one belief about your limitation, one belief about what's possible. But here's the crucial part, don't just question superficially. Question like your life depends on it, because it does. I had a student who believed he could never master the 1-inch punch. Every morning he questioned this belief. Is it true I can't? Who told me this? What if the opposite were true? Within months, he not only mastered the technique, but discovered something far more valuable, the power of questioning his own limitation. The second tool is what I call discomfort integration training. Most people run from discomfort. I want you to run toward it. Start with small discomforts, cold showers, difficult conversations, unfamiliar tasks. Your body and mind will scream for the familiar, for the comfortable. This is the moment of choice, the moment where growth lives. Here's how to practice. Each day, deliberately seek one thing that makes you uncomfortable. Stay with that discomfort. Study it. Understand it. Don't try to overcome it, try to become intimate with it. A warrior doesn't become fearless by avoiding fear. They become intimate with fear. until it becomes a tool rather than an obstacle. The third tool is creative response training. This isn't about art, it's about breaking the patterns that imprison your responses. Start with simple exercises. Use your toothbrush with your opposite hand. Take a new route to work. Eat your meals in reverse order. Then escalate. Solve problems using tools from completely different domains. If you're facing a business challenge, ask how a martial artist would solve it. If you're dealing with a relationship issue, consider how a sculptor would approach it. Now, here's where these tools merge, with physical training the integration point that makes them unstoppable. When you're training your body, train your mind simultaneously. During each physical repetition, question your limits. While holding a difficult stance, study your discomfort. When practicing techniques, deliberately break your patterns. You need markers to measure your progress. Watch for these signs. When your first response to obstacles becomes curiosity rather than frustration. When discomfort starts feeling more like a familiar friend than an enemy. When your solutions to problems surprise even you. When you catch yourself questioning assumptions automatically. When adaptation becomes your natural state rather than an effort. But let me warn you about the obstacles you'll face. Your mind will resist. It will create elaborate excuses. I don't have time. This isn't practical. I'll start tomorrow. Recognize these for what they are, the death we spoke of earlier, fighting to maintain its grip. The most common obstacle is what I call the comfort conspiracy, the way your environment, habits, and relationships all conspire to keep you comfortable, to keep you dead. Your old patterns will call to you like sirens. Your familiar limitations will feel like old friends. This is when you must remember, comfort is the enemy of growth. Here's a practical way to overcome these obstacles. Create what I call a discomfort contract with yourself. Each week, write down 3 new discomforts you'll embrace, 3 patterns you'll break, 3 questions you'll deeply explore. Share this contract with someone who will hold you accountable. The act of writing and sharing creates a bridge between intention and action. Right now, in this moment, you stand at a crossroads. Not tomorrow, not next week, but in this very breath you're taking. The choice between living and existing isn't made once, it's made in every moment, with every decision, with every breath. Look at your hands. These same hands that can form a fist can also open to embrace life. These same hands that can shield you from pain can also reach out to grasp growth. The choice is yours, and it must be made now. I challenge you now. I dare you to live fully alive for just one day of questioning everything, of embracing every discomfort, of expressing yourself without fear. One day of truly living might just wake you up for a lifetime. You see, the universe doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't reward those who play it safe. The universe bows to those who dare to live fully, who dare to be alive in a world of the walking dead. Every great achievement in human history came from someone who chose to be alive when others were merely existing. Think of water again, not gentle streams this time, but the mighty ocean. The ocean doesn't ask permission to be powerful. It doesn't apologize for its depth. It doesn't seek approval for its movements. It's simply ice in all its magnificence. This is how you must live. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. There are no practice runs, no temporary deaths, no trial resurrection. Every moment you choose comfort over growth, security over adventure, conformity over authenticity, you die a little more inside. But equally true is this: every moment you choose growth over comfort, adventure over security, authenticity over conformity, you come alive a little more. And these small moments of choosing life, they compound, they build, they transform. So I ask you one final time, will you be one of the many who die at 25 and wait to be buried at 75? Or will you join the few who dare to live fully until their last breath? The choice is yours, and it begins now, not tomorrow. not later. Now, remember, the world needs you alive, not just breathing, not just existing, but fully, magnificently, authentically alive. Because when you dare to live fully, you give others permission to do the same. Your awakening creates ripples that wake others. Your courage to live becomes their courage to begin. Now go, live. Not because I told you to, but because you can feel it in your bones that you were meant for more than mere existence. The time for half living is over. The time for full living is now.